Hello, welcome to the Good Life Meditation for today, February 6th, 2024, 25. My name is Kurt, and welcome. Um, this is a video that I do every day first I need to get a few disclaimers out. First, welcome to the new subscribers. This is not a Japan-related video, other than the fact that I'm in Japan. Although I'm not in a convenience store today, I'm at my apartment. At least this is our place for another couple of weeks. Also, this video, like I said, doesn't deal with Japan other than the incidental fact that I'm in Japan. It deals, this is a video that I do, it's a personal video that I use to publicly tune my life and to improve my life. So consider this a personal video that the public is welcome to sit in on. So with that aside, and I do talk about controversial or sensitive subjects here. I talk about things like death, atheism, sometimes even suicide, and those do make people uncomfortable. So just be forewarned. All right, let's jump into it. First, apologies. Yesterday I didn't make a video. That was deliberate, and I didn't think anyone would notice. I was pleasantly surprised that people actually noticed that I didn't do that. Thank you. Thanks especially to those that sent me email asking how I was doing. Kirk, thank you very much. Not Kurt, Kirk sent me an email. He thought maybe I was sick. So what happened yesterday was, that was the second day in the row of just prior to yesterday, second day in the row, just awful day in the afternoon and evening. I mean, fatigue like you wouldn't believe. I'm not kidding you when I say that like around 8:30 p.m. I could barely crawl to bed. I told Unique I had to skip the dog walk. And I took Rudy out for a short run, and then the ladies took Ollie for a longer run. And I said, something's got to quit. And I knew what the culprit was. It was the onset of the seasonal allergies that have struck and always struck me when I lived in Japan. And it's the same, it weighs me down. The way allergies hit me, like, do you know when you first get like a cold or like a flu is coming on, and you suddenly realize, oh my gosh, I've got the flu. Oh my gosh, I've got a cold. You're not feeling really terrible yet, but just this veil drops over you, like it like pulls over your face, and you can feel it at the back of your throat, and your weight and your fatigue comes in, and you can even tell your spouse, you say, stand by, I'm going down, and you know the next 5 days are going to be hell, right? That's for me, that's how allergies are, but all the time, the whole experience. And it's funny because when I lived in Japan before, I would never catch on to that. It would happen every year, and I would think I'm getting sick, and then like a day later, I'm not sick, like, oh, it's allergies again. But now it's changed, it's foremost in my mind. I know what it is the whole time, right? As soon as I feel like, here they are, the allergies are here. And so the good news is that I'm wearing a mask, and that's like 95% of the symptoms just wiped out. I mean, I'm in really good shape as long as I wear the mask. So, I'm wearing it everywhere in the house, not in this house, but in the new house, outside, of course, everywhere. The second thing that I decided to do yesterday, after the night before last was so terrible, I decided to not do my morning walk, because the morning walk literally has me outside walking for an hour. Even with the mask, I'm still outside, and then I'm at the convenience store talking with my mask off, and the door of the convenience store is opening and closing, and I thought, just the heck with that. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to experiment and see how I do. And I didn't, announce it or anything like that, but I just didn't do it. I still did my good life meditation. I just did it personally. I always do this. I just don't always do it publicly. And it did the trick yesterday. I mean, I had a good day yesterday between the mask and the not doing the morning walk. I had a really good day. I still got tired, but it was my normal fatigue of 8:30 or 9, where I'm just, normally levels of, oh boy, it would be nice to get to bed, like that. Doesn't mean I didn't have challenges yesterday. I did, but they were of a different sort, and I'll get to those in just a moment. So that's why I'm at home today doing this. Especially after I got that email from Kirk asking how I was doing. I thought, what? Because I wasn't going to do this. I thought, well, I'll just forgo the good life meditation for a while until I get moved and settled. But I can just do it here. So, so here I am, and I can do it horizontal because I don't have to worry about picking anybody up in the background. All right, so that was what happened yesterday. I did my disclaimer. So let's go on with it. So the three things I do with this video every day is I go over the last 24 hours, I review the objectives of my creed, and I plan for the coming day. So the last 24 hours were incredibly productive. I had a really good day yesterday. I worked really hard on the house. I completed my cleaning and organization of both the living room and the guest room. I made 2 trips to the dump to manage the non-burnable wastes, which was pretty easy and straightforward. A little more time spent sorting the stuff at the dump. They have a different building for doing that. I thought that there was ash falling out of the sky, but it was snow. It was snowing here in Shizuoka yesterday, over by the dump, by the mountains. You could literally see. I was like, what? I told Yumiko, what the hell is that? It's like this strange atmospheric effect. It was snow coming down in ways I'd never seen before. Amazing. Anyway, so I did that, and then I came back to the house, and feeling really good, I went ahead and cleaned the bathroom from tip to bottom, and the foyer, the Genkan. Just realized Genkan is foyer. Huh. Anyway, the reception area to the house. And Yumiko and I had done the kitchen the day before, kind of a surface level clean. And Yumiko, well, I did that in the morning too. I had finished the kitchen before Yumiko joined me because she had taken her dad to see the orthopedics doctor yesterday. So I did that too. I did so much yesterday, and I think it was because I didn't do the walk, and I was wearing my mask. Now that doesn't say that I didn't have any challenge. I was listening to. I did have a challenge yesterday. It was a really interesting one, and it kind of came through in kind of an emotional way, more deeply emotional than I expected. I was at the house alone in the morning, and I was listening to podcasts, and the day before I had been listening to podcasts about artificial intelligence research, and I'm worked in the field of IT when I had my career. I wasn't a mover or a shaker by any means, but I was involved in IT, and I got to be in part of that world. And the day before, I had suddenly started missing my job, of all things. Jeez Louise. Talk about, what was I thinking? Anyway, I mean, the reason I mean that is my job was really hard, and it was very stressful, and I'm confident that the last 10 years of work in IT took a couple of years off my life in terms of general health. I mean, a lot of these heavy lines that you see on my face are the stress and the worry and the sleepless nights of the last decade of being an IT project manager in the public sector in California. It was a hard job. It took a lot out of me. So that's why I'm like, wow, how could I miss that? But I did. That was 2 days ago. Then yesterday, I remember what it was. I was listening to a podcast with, it was the Lex Fridman podcast with Mark Andreessen. Remember Mark Andreessen? The founder of like the Mozilla browser, one of the early internet, tech founders. And he's currently on the board of directors of Meta and other things. Very, very interesting guy. And I'm only halfway through it because Lex's podcasts are like 3 to 5 hours. And this is because Lex believes that you really can't get to know someone unless you've got them behind the microphone for like 3+ hours because they can't hide for that long. It's an interesting strategy, and it works. I mean, he'll get like world leaders on there, and their true characters will invariably show. Anyway, he was talking to Mark Andreessen, and Mark was talking about, they were on a kind of a tangent talking about um, hold on, if I can couch this right. Culture. I wish I could remember the what was the lead up to this. The point was, Mark pointed out that in very old cultures, two things are worshipped. One is ancestors are worshipped. And he's talking about, oh, I remember he was talking about, he was tracing back the history of the Greeks and the Romans and their culture to some antecedent, is that right? Antecedent before cultures, maybe from the steppes of Asia and their traditions. And he got all the way back to the point he was saying very, very old cultures worship two things. They worship ancestors and they worship nature. And the reason he said that is that there's very little distance back in the bad old days. There was very little distance between life and death. That without tech, because it was that's right. He was talking about technology. There was no technology really, or very little technology back in the old days to help us to. I remember where this all came from because they were talking about what the changes that AI are going to bring about, where humans are further liberated from the need to work. And he was talking about back, case in point, way back in the bad old days when there was no technology to separate us from our need to sustain ourselves. You were literally hand to mouth every day. We worshiped, cultures like that worship two things, ancestors and nature, because ancestors were the ones that taught you how to stay alive, barely, and nature was the thing that was trying to kill you. And I was cleaning the house here in Japan, and when he said that, I was like, oh my gosh. I said, that's Japan, right? I mean, because Japan is an ancestor worship. We have in the home, we have the Butsudan altar where we literally are praying to the ancestors that have gone before. And then the local church in any Japanese community is the Shinto shrine. I'm sure there's Buddhist temples, but it's different feel. I think any Japanese would say at their heart, their Shinto is the thing. That's the kami-sama that pervades the community and pervades the home. I mean, there's little Shinto altars throughout the Japanese home and the garden and everywhere. It's everywhere. And I goes, oh my gosh, that's Japan. And then I was suddenly struck with this wave of feeling. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm trapped in one of these old cultures. And it explains, and then he went on to say that in cultures like that, no change, variation, deviation from the norms that keep you alive are not tolerated. And I was suddenly realized, what have I done? I've got myself into one of these old cultures that, stale and stagnant and nothing happening. And suddenly I remembered the vibrant, energetic optimism that pervades Southern California, especially Orange County where I live, especially Irvine where I live, where it's like this sharp bleeding edge of a pointed sword, or not of a spacecraft piercing through the darkness of space, leading like the Star Trek leading into the future. And I was like, what have I done? I've given up living at the cutting edge of human thought and idealism, and I brought myself back to a place that is stuck in the past. And this all happened in the course of like 20 minutes, and I was struck by this wave of, I was downright depressed. I was like, what have I done? I bought this house. I've given up my career. I've removed myself from Southern California, from the OC, where I had a gainful employment. I could participate in all of that. I could go to the nice restaurants. I could be with the bubbly, cheerful young people, that are striving in life. And that stuck for about a couple of hours. And then it was over lunchtime. Yumiko and I had a talk because she can pick up on these things. And we had a talk, and I explained to her what was going on. And we talked it out, and we both remembered, because she misses it too. We both remember, because it's an amazing place. Southern California, especially the OC, is really an amazing place. And we remembered the cost that it took to live in that environment, which was the incredible stress and difficulty of our careers, which we're now both a couple of months removed from, and we're beginning to forget. And we need to remember that yeah, we gave that up because we don't want that. And this is not a bad place, and it's not the picture that I just painted is not like that at all. Japan isn't like that, although it has all the trappings of that because it is more recently removed from that paradigm, right? So that was a really interesting. I listed that here as missed America. It was a lot more than missed America. It was an existential sense of like you know, missing the boat, right? Because that's what I went back to America for. I hadn't put it into words like that. In Japan, I had felt like I was, because I was a boomer. I mean, I'm not a boomer. I am a boomer, but I was a dot-commer. I had been a part of the dot-com, rise as well, that bubble as well, both the rise and the pop. And living in Japan post.com, I had the same experience. It's like, what the hell am I doing here? I can't succeed here. I can't make very much money here. Everybody's, it's an interesting place, but everybody's basically, constrained by the handcuffs of society and tradition. What the hell am I doing here? And so I left. And I went back to America, and I succeeded, and I climbed, and I got my family out of, the situation that we were in, which was almost feeling like living hand to mouth here after my business collapsed. And then we got to climb up to live a nice life in California, if at a great expense. And then I came back here again. And in a little bit, but now that I put it so starkly, that's going to be a struggle. And that was something Yumiko said. She said yesterday. She said, we were worried about this, Kurt. She said, specifically, Kurt, I was worried about you, Kurt, coming back to Japan and whether you were going to be able to withstand Japan. What I have to do is I have to remember what it cost, because that ride in America wasn't free. That ride in America was very costly in terms of stress and strain and all of that. Anyway, I spent a lot of time talking about that, didn't I? Okay, let's carry on. I've got 2 more things to do. Let's go over my 8 objectives of my creed. I'm at home. I don't have the copy with me, but I wrote a book called Going Alone, which is my philosophical perspective on life. So, what life's all about from my perspective, because each of us is entitled to come up with a perspective about what this thing is that we found ourselves in, right? And so that's my perspective in that book. And in that book, there's a chapter called The Good Life, where I outline the creed, the life principles and objectives that I use to live by, that I think will actually work really well. I mean, I've been doing this for 8 years now. Is it 8 years? Since 2008, December 2018, when I finished the book. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 7 years. Not even 7 years, because it was December, so 6 years. So I've been doing this for 6 years, feels like 8, living this creed, and it has had very good results. So that's why, partially because I reflect on it every day. It's like, keeping it foremost in my mind, and I exercise mentally. I try to practice what I preach, and what I preach is 8 objectives. Those 8 objectives are: number 1, to be always ready to die, to have my affairs in order, my relationship sound, and my life's work complete. And I have to ask myself, is that the state? Is that the case now? It is, although it almost wasn't. There was one thing that happened yesterday and today that I'll share with you about having my affairs in order. So one detail about my life, I don't usually talk about particulars. I'll talk about broad strokes about my life, finances and stuff like that, but I don't usually share details because that's irrelevant to the point. Each of us has our own circumstance. But one thing that's a broad stroke that is in my life is that I did not prepare well enough for my daughter's college. So I did set, when she was young, I did set up a college fund for her, and I did contribute to it during the good years, and it did grow. and it got her through the first 2 years of college, but there wasn't enough money for the second 2 years, so I had to take out a loan. I didn't ask my daughter to take out a loan. I took out a loan myself, a personal loan at a pretty high interest rate, and to finish paying for my daughter's college. So, and I haven't paid that loan off. I've got another year and a half to go, and I'll have it paid off per the payoff schedule. So one of the things I did was, from once I'm retired, I took, there's the retirement funds. Now that I don't have, when I was working, I had enough money coming in that I could, keep us afloat and service the debt with just from my income. But I don't make enough money now in retirement to do both. So what I do now is I've set things up. I've got a special account set up with my bank. So I went to pull the money out of retirement savings, I've earmarked this money to pay off the debt, and but not the whole principal and the balance, just to service the debt. I plan to pay it down through servicing it. I'm going to eat the interest. It's not a problem. It's part of the plan. I've had this plan. I built this plan over the last 2 years. So I needed to take, now that the house is all taken care of, now that the car is all taken care of, now that the retirement income is coming in, and that's all working just fine. The last piece of the puzzle was to get enough money in place in the special account that I could set up auto payments to pay off my daughter's college debt. So I won't have to worry about it. Just drop the money in there, leave it in there. I know people are saying there's probably all kinds of people out here that have financial ideas. You could do this and that and the other thing and save all the interest. I'm going to eat the interest. It's just, I'm okay with that. So I'll just put the money in there and it'll be on autopilot until basically it's paid off. I've done this before. It worked in the past to service debt. I just put the money aside and forget about it until one day it's gone. The debt is gone. So yesterday I had a stressful moment because I logged into the retirement account to pull the money out and put it into the account to service the debt, at which point I'd be done. And the retirement account locked me out, or it didn't lock me out. It said, no, you can't do this. I went particularly to the withdrawal option and it said no. It's the kind of thing when you're living overseas and you're dealing with your banks back in the United States or wherever the country may be, I'm always worried that it's going to detect my IP address as being some foreign IP address and think that's suspicious, funny business. We're not going to let you in, and that's exactly what happened. I was like, So I had the moment, and this all relates to the good life, right? I mean, I'm talking about now having my affairs in order, right? So I can be ready to die. Part of getting my affairs in order is making sure that everything's in place to pay off the debt, because I don't want to die and then not have the debt paid off and then have collectors come hounding, Yumiko, although the debt's in my name, so it wouldn't, they'd be screwed, I think. But I don't want to screw anybody either, right? So I want to get it all set up. So I immediately used my principles. The message came up on the computer, I can't remember exactly what it said, something like, can't perform this transaction. And my heart started beating fast. And I immediately used Temperance, which is one of my principles in the book, to temper my emotional reaction, to say, okay, Kurt, this is something that happens sometimes. You were ready for this. In fact, as I was clicking the button to initiate the withdrawal, I told myself, Kurt, there's a chance that you're going to get an error message. Be ready for that chance, Kurt. I got the error message. So Temperance prevented me from flying off the handle, right? Sometimes things happen and I'd fly off the handle anyway, but this one I was ready for it. And then I used reason, which is another one of the principles that in my creed. And I said, okay, well, let's reason my way through this. And I had already done this as well. I said, okay, I have two options. One, I can try again. Or two, I can wait 24 hours. Maybe it's a glitch on their side. And I thought, if I try again and I fit, and then the system detects a second attempt, that might raise a flag. I don't want that. So I'm not, but I want the immediate satisfaction of getting through. So I thought, I'm going to trade then I'm going to have to live, if I choose to wait till tomorrow, which is today, then I'm going to have to sit on that anxiety for 24 hours to prevent myself from making a second attempt and possibly flagging my account and causing it to get locked. I chose that option to wait. I said, okay, Kurt, close that browser tab, put it aside, deal with it, try it again at the same time tomorrow. So this was me attempting to get my affairs in order, encountering what to me is my worst fear, not being able to access my money in America while living overseas, and choosing, instead of panicking, to use a reasonable course of action to hold off taking any action until tomorrow, because maybe it was, like I said, maybe it was just a glitch on their side. So I literally set it aside, and it worked. I set it aside, and partially because I wrote it down, and then I distracted myself with life for the rest of the day. And then this morning, as I sat down to begin I didn't walk to Lawson. As I sat down and began my list, I thought, oh, there's that thing. I got to do the funds transfer thing. I just labeled. I even put a time stamp on it. Said, okay, and I slept in a little bit this morning because I didn't go to Lawson. I slept until 4:30 a.m. I did my engagement, and I wanted to jump right in and I do the troubleshooting. And I said, no, Kurt, you have a way of doing things. First thing I do every morning is I make a cup of coffee, and I sit down and I respond to all email, and I respond to all YouTube comments, and all Facebook, all social media comments. I said, Kurt, you have a way of doing things. Make your damn coffee, respond to all your stuff, and then do the troubleshooting. Because if I did the troubleshooting, I knew that if I tried again and it failed again, then I got to get on the horn. I got to call America, and I'm going to be on hold for 30 minutes or whatever, and talk to a banker there, and they're going to have to do all kinds of verification. It's going to take me half an hour, and I won't. Then I'll be all flustered, and then when I finally do the engagement, I'll be all upset, and I won't be responding to people very well with very clear thoughts. I said, Kurt, don't do that. Hold off on the engagement thing until after that, which is how I normally do things. Do the engagement first. No, actually, the very first thing I do every day is I read a chapter of the Bible. So I did that. I'm currently in the book of John right now. So I did that. Then I did my engagement. Then I did the troubleshooting. So I brought the computer up. I got through all my comments, responded to everybody on YouTube. All my emails were done. Logged into the browser. I said, okay, Kurt, there's two things that are going to happen. Either it's going to work, or two, it's not going to work, and then you're going to be on that long phone call to America. I went through it, and it worked. Everything went fine, just fine. So now the money's on its way. It should take 48 hours. It's, Wednesday in America. So by Friday, I should have the money to pay off the rest of Emily's college in that special account, and I'm done with that. And I don't have to think about it anymore. But okay, so that will mean now that that's in place, and I've already set up the automatic payment. So back to the point of, am I ready to die? Right? Are my affairs in order? Well, that's done. Right? I'm confident. I'm 100% confident the money's going to go through now, because I've done that many times during the house and the car purchase, because I funded the house and the car purchase through that account and another IRA. So it always works. So I'm confident that that'll get there. So, and I know now, and this is a big point of satisfaction, of peace of mind. I know now that my daughter's university is paid for and done, because all the money that I need to pay for the rest of the loan that I took out to pay for her education is set aside in a special account, and every month will auto pay until that thing is paid off, and I'm done. So am I ready to die? Are my affairs in order? Yeah, they're really now. And it's funny, how was I missing that? Even last week, when I would say my affairs are in order, everything, and I forgot that I didn't have a clear path to pay off my daughter's education. I mean, I had a plan, but I hadn't enacted that plan. If I had died last week, then Emily's college would have gone, her college loan in my name, would have gone payments would have stopped. I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but that I couldn't say my affairs were in order. Now they're more in order. And every time I knock one of those things off and say, okay, that's in order, this is in order, that's in order, there's a kind of a weight that lifts off my heart. And you feel it right, literally here in your heart. It doesn't feel it, I don't feel it in my head. It's funny how that is, huh? I mean, it's funny, no wonder the ancients, thought that our seat of emotions were here. I can feel it right now. I can feel that weight just lifting off as I remind myself of that. So back to the point, am I ready to die? 3 things. Are my affairs in order? Yes, they are. Are my relationships sound? Yes, they are. Especially after yesterday. Not that Yumiko and I had any issues necessarily. I mean, we're just humans. I mean, we encounter issues, but we, for the most part, tackle them as they come up, like she did yesterday. We were having lunch together, and I was clearly not myself, and we engaged in a good conversation. And that helped me to flesh out what was going on with regard to missing America, missing California, missing Orange County. We had a good talk about that, and we both remembered, we kind of this shuddering feeling. Yeah, it was great living there, but at what cost, right? Jeez. So then the third one is my life's work complete? Well, my child is raised, my book is written, I have more that I want to do. This is part of it, making these videos, sharing the Good Life Creed, which works, is part of my life's work, yeah. The last thing I want to do now is to prepare for today. Oh, I didn't complete going over the objectives, did I? Number 1 is to be always ready to die. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of time. 3, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. 4, to cultivate good emotional reactions. 5, to perform good actions. 6, to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities. 7, to do just one thing at a time, and do that thing slowly, deliberately, and carefully. And number 8, the most comprehensive of the objectives, is number 1 is the most important, to be ready to die. Number 8 is the most comprehensive, to keep my balance, so that things aren't pushing me off my feet physically and mentally as things happen throughout the day. And I did lose my balance a little bit yesterday. I lost my balance with regard to that America thing. And it came up with a moment of frustration while we were having lunch, when we're having lunch in our new house. And I don't know why, but we've got this, old tablecloth. Now, the house wasn't gross. And the person that lived there cared for the house, but what I think happened was probably in their last, and I think she's still alive, I think she's living in a home, the mother that was the last person that lived there. We're seeing this now with my father-in-law. My father-in-law, he's 90 now, and he's declined to the point that he can't really take care of himself very well, so much so that personal hygiene is a little bit wanting, if you know what I mean. And I'm not throwing any shade on him. I mean, this is just what happens when we get old. We need our family's help. And fortunately, we are here. Yumiko, my wife, I'm here. Yoko, the sister, is here. The brother is just up the street. The whole family's here. It takes a village, right? And when we realize that more and more we have to do everything for Dad, even to the point of when we feed him, we put the food in front of him, and someone's got to place the chopsticks in front of him, because otherwise we won't do it. He's old. The person that was living in our house cared for their home, but they got to they're the same cohort age, and they weren't taking very good care of the place. The place got to a place where it was like no one had been really cleaning it for a while, so it kind of had that, like a frat house kind of a feel. I mean, but you could tell that someone loved the house. It's well cared for. There's no major issues, but someone went about 6 months to a year without really giving it the deep clean that it deserved. And probably what happened was the family recognized what was going on and said, I don't think mom can take care of herself anymore. Maybe it's time for, I don't know, maybe mom doesn't live in a home. Maybe she lives at the family. I don't know. Don't know the details. But mom doesn't. Mom was taken out of the home, and the home sat empty for a year and then was put on the market, and we bought it. So the tablecloth on the dining room table, which was left behind, is a nice tablecloth. The fact that it has a nice kind of a doily little tablecloth, um, speaks to someone cared, but it's kind of gross. And Yumiko she brought lunch after taking care of her dad's lunch, she went to the supermarket and got us bento. And I'm sitting there, and she got me a katsudon, which I really like, in this one supermarket that really piles it on. It's like a mountain of katsudon. And I'm sitting there, and I don't have it so bad anymore, but I used to have a germ phobia. It really doesn't happen anymore. That was like when I was a kid. But it's a little bit of triggers in there still. And I'm sitting there, and I'm eating my thing, and once the katsudon rolled off the top and onto the counter, and I'm really hungry, and the good part of the katsudon, the meaty part, rolled onto the tablecloth. Like, damn, it's on the gross tablecloth. Got my chops, and Miko's like looking at me like, "You okay over there?" And remember, I had just earlier had that, before Yumiko had arrived, been listening to that podcast and talking about the thing I mentioned earlier about Japan, about the old cultures, and I was realizing, oh my gosh, I've left America. I've left Orange County. This wonderful place, and now I'm stuck in the old world. And I had this frustration and I hadn't talked to Yumiko about it. She's like, Yumiko's like, you okay over there? Because I wanted to eat it, so I ate it. Whenever it touched the thing, 3-second rule. And then it went on again, and I did it again, and it fell over. And I was visibly, I get a little outburst. I was like, gosh, dang it. Like a petulant child. Yumiko's like, what's going on? And I explained to her, and we talked. And so we got it out, and that's when we had the talk, and we realized, yeah, it's a trade-off, right? I mean, by going to America, we were presented with a great opportunity to improve our lives, but at great cost. And we did that. We pulled ourselves out of the hole that I had buried us in by failing in Japan, by being. I mean, really, I did. I just failed in Japan, and I dug my family into a hole. And we were able to climb out of that hole by going back to America, but it was at a great cost. So, I've already gone over this, right? So we talked, Yumiko and I talked, and I got that in order. So back to that 8th objective, balance. Balance means being in a position where that kind of stuff doesn't happen very much, where I'm ready for the unexpected, if that's a thing. It is a thing. By preparing, by forecasting throughout the day, what kind of things can get me, what kind of things can happen. Like, for example, one of the things I'll do is that I'll go to the dump by myself today, and I'm not very good with Japanese. And I know how to tell the guys at the dump that I've either got burnable stuff, in which case I'm going to go to one part of the dump, or I've got non-burnables, because you drive up and you pull up to the thing and there's a dude there, and you roll the window down and you talk to him a little bit, and they'll give you a placard, a different colored placard that you put on your dashboard, and then you follow either an orange line or a red line, and takes you to a different part of the facility to either unload burnables or unload non-burnables. And in my very simple Japanese way, I can say, I have burnables, moeru mono desu, or more no nai mono desu. I know that's awful, but my Japanese is so bad. Sometimes the guys at the thing, they want to engage in small talk, right? They'll ask me more information. They'll peek in the back, and they'll ask me questions about what's going on back there. I know that that's going to happen. And I prepare myself ahead of time so I don't off my balance. As I'm driving up to the thing, I'm talking to myself and say, okay, Kurt, this might go challenging, right? I might get a talker that's going to want to know everything and talk about stuff, or ask me where I'm from and stuff like that in Japanese. The guys at the dump never speak to me in English. That's what I mean by balance. Balance is conditioning my mind and my body that I can maintain my equanimity throughout the day and not be put off by the unexpected. It's a very worthwhile objective. It's the last objective that I added. And the objective numbers of the objective don't relate to when I added them. I organized them by their importance, and same with the principles. They're organized, they build off one another. So number one, being always ready to die is indeed my most important principle. That's or objective. That's the thing I'm after. That's the man that I want to be, who's always ready to die. And number 8, balance is the way that I want to operate throughout the day. Today, here's what I'm going to do today. When we're done here, Yumiko should be up in half an hour. When I'm done with this, I'm going to pour another cup of tea. I think I'm going to watch a YouTube video. Akiamart, excuse me, the website, they kind of partnered with me, and they invited me to make videos for their YouTube channel about abandoned, because I would find the houses on their site, and I would go out to the, take a video. Hey, here's a house I saw in Akiamart. They're like, hey, can we put that on our channel? So I'm giving them videos, and they uploaded a new video to their channel that I sent them. So I want to look at that. By then, Yumiko should be up. We'll go for a dog walk. It's cold outside. And then we'll have breakfast. And then I think Yumiko has to do something with her dad again today, pretty much every day. So my goal for today is to go to the house. I think I can finish all the deep cleaning today. With the exception of the Japanese bath, because we're going to hire a remodel company to come in and just rip that all out and start over. I think I can do all that. I think I can get the rest ready to go. And then I have probably about another 5 trips to the dump, if I'm honest, for the non-burnables. I can probably make another 2 trips today. And I get to stop at 7-Eleven along the way for a American dog, corn dog, and a coffee. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish the cleaning and then 2 trips to the dump. And then that'll pretty much wind up the day. Well, Yumiko and I will have lunch together sometime throughout the day. We'll take an afternoon dog walk, a noontime dog walk, and then the evening we'll be here, and we'll just do our normal thing. That's it. I think that's it for the day. Okay, this is a long one. Let's see if I've got any comments to respond to. A lot of comments. Sam Gloves says, hey everyone. And April, hi April. Wasn't sure you would be live this morning. Staying inside is definitely a good idea with all of the allergens out there. If it gets really bad, make sure you go to the doctor. Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you. Dr. J. Matt Buchanan. Hello, doctor. Hi, Kurt. Glad you are still doing better. Was watching a video of yours that I saw years ago with my older son, the one where you were with the rural family making mochi. Nostalgia. Ooh, that's a really old video. Wow, my daughter was just a little girl then. She wasn't with me on that video, but that's a really old video. Thank you for watching. I'm surprised you suffered through the poor quality of that old camera. April goes on, Firefox was the best browser. Mozilla, I had all but forgotten about it. Yeah, it is. And if you're interested, Mark Andreessen is a very interesting man. The latest Lex Friedman podcast interview with him, I think it's 2 interviews back. Like I said, I'm only halfway through it. Really good. I love listening to episodes like that. I took April goes on, I took as many religion classes as I could in college. Nature and ancestor worship were always the only ones that made any sense after learning about them all. Tangible things to believe in. Interesting perspective there. It kind of seems like the foundational thing, right? Worshipping nature. It was interesting when Mark said it, and this wasn't Mark's idea. He was quoting it from Mark Andreessen. He was quoting it from a book that was saying that worshiping nature made sense because it was the thing that was trying to kill you, trying to appease the bully, right? I thought that was an interesting perspective. But yeah, the stagnant, never change, don't fix it if it isn't broken, pros and cons, LOL, but I like the simplicity that comes with it. Yeah, me too. I know, April, that you're very familiar with the dynamic, and it has its pros and cons. And the other one that Mark was commenting on, with that kind of stuck in my head, was that in that old mindset, the perspective of, you know, kill the person from the next village over on first sight, was another one of the perspectives. Kill the foreigner, right? And I was like, oh yeah, that's a deep and ancient perspective, isn't it? And explains sometimes, and it's hard to not unsee that once you see it as a foreigner living in Japan. No one's going to kill me over here, but still, you get that sidelong glance. And you know what? This is April. You might appreciate this too. I noticed, and I may be reading too much into this. I decided earlier I wasn't going to talk about this, but I'm going to say it just because of the conversation. I noticed that as we did our introductions in the neighborhood last week on the weekend, on Sunday I think it was, and I noticed how quickly my wife, my Japanese wife, made the connections to our new neighbors, that she was from this area, Yada, this community. And then the connections were made in the old Obasan, the old grandma in one of the houses. Aren't you the old Tatagu's daughter? The Tatagu, the shoji screen and door maker, which is what her dad did. He was the village shoji screen and door maker. And my wife said, yeah, that's us. And I was like, wow, she's like putting down her bona fides, right? That we're not just new to the neighborhood. We got roots, we got connections. Because our family, her family, is one of the old families on the Inoue side, right? Like her dad, her uncle is like the Yada village boss. So I was realizing that if we had bought a house in another community outside of that we would be perpetual, when we're dealing with the old network, we would be perpetual strangers, outsiders for generations, which for Emiko, it doesn't matter much, because so, but I could see it, right? Kill the stranger, but we're not strangers. Yeah, you sell your soul to live that nonstop lifestyle and wear yourself out overall, but having things to do is a nice thing. That's the thing my husband misses about Japan. Affordable activities. It is affordable, yeah. You can do things here. And it's very egalitarian. Everybody can do it, right? Sometimes I felt like in Orange County, like I knew that there were the haves and the have-nots. Like there were so many interesting things, beautiful restaurants, interesting activities, lovely beaches, that so much of the greater Los Angeles community, it was out of reach for them for various ways. Here in Japan, everybody can go to the Matsuri, or to the summer fireworks, or to the big dance event downtown, the summer dance event, another Matsuri. Everybody, you're right, it's accessible and affordable. April says, I was going to ask which of your books the creed comes from. Thanks. The more I watch your morning streams, the more I think it would be a good idea for me to try to adapt for myself. Well, it was just a matter for me when I gave up being religious, when I stopped being a Christian. I realized that now I guess I'm on my own. I got to figure out my own set of rules, which my Christian friends look at me askance for. It's like, how can I be qualified to do that? But I cobbled together what I from my reading and my experience, what I thought were things that I thought would constitute a respectable, well-lived life, and that's the origin of the creed. And it is within my book, Going Alone. Although I do have another book that is largely written, but I haven't published yet, called The Good Life, which expands. So Going Alone is a very different story. Going Alone is about how I basically stopped believing in God and decided to go alone. And then in the course of that, came up with the creed as my guide. And then the good life is the new book that I've already written. I just haven't published it yet. I just have to finish editing it. It's going to take me 3 years to edit. If precedent is any, it took me 3 years to write Going Alone and 5 years to edit that book. It took me 2 years to write The Good Life, and I'm probably 6 months into editing. So look forward to that thing 5 years down the road. Anyway, that book expands on the chapter. I realized that the creed was significant enough of a project in its own right that it deserved its own book. And so that's what that is. And it really does help, whether you, and anyone's welcome to my creed. And I borrowed a lot especially from Stoic traditions. So, but I recommend if anyone doesn't have a particular, set of rules and guides for their own life, it's a very worthwhile thing to do. You can pick one up. You can adopt the creed of a religion or of a tradition of some sort, or make one up yourself. Okay, Robert, Believe in Yourself says, hi, Kurt. Hi, April, he says. Hi, Robert. April goes on, yeah, you definitely need a VPN for using your bank overseas. I have Surfshark for $60 every 2 years. The phone verifications are another headache. Yeah, luckily U.S. debts don't transfer to family. Yeah. Yeah, I actually didn't pull the trigger on the VPN. I got everything set up with two-factor authentication before I left America, and I kept my American phone number for a couple of months, for 2 months basically. It just expired when I came to Japan, specifically so that I could get my new Japanese phone number set up, and that seems to have done the job. In terms of allowing me to continue my banking. I did have one incident where I couldn't get a bank. It locked me out for some reason. I just called them up and they unlocked it. But I do worry about my IP number. But so far, seems to be good. And April says hi to Robert. Robert says, something also to consider that many involved in banking today are not used to thinking outside of the box, not realizing that banking, like life, is adaptable. Glad it worked at the second try. Me too. Is there a way to make sure that transfer between accounts automatic? Yeah, I just check it. So I just set it up, and then and I know it'll work. So because I've already got it set up and I've already tested it out. So the trick is just to make sure that the money's in the fund, and then it'll just bam, 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 all the way through. Now I'm thinking about how much extra stuff I have that my kids will be stuck with if I die tomorrow. I need to purge some stuff. Yeah, and it's startling to realize the weight. Here's the thing, April. I didn't realize really until buying this house, the weight that is left behind on the children for this stuff. And this is a complicated thought that I'm struggling to get out. Let's say, for example, for me, the stuff that's important to me, that my daughter knows was important to me, but she doesn't give a damn about. What does she do with that, right? So you see where I'm headed with this, right? Like then what do you do with that, right? I mean, what is she supposed to do with it? Is she going to hold on to it for the sentimental sake that her dad cared about it? I want to make sure I don't have any of that crap around. And for the most part, I don't keep that stuff. I own almost nothing in my life now. Literally when I die, if I was to die today, there's just a bunch of books that I haven't read. Not even books that I've read. After I read a book, I get rid of it. All the books that I have that I brought with me to Japan are books that I haven't read. And it's 2 suitcases full. I brought 2 suitcases with me, and they're almost all both filled with books. Emily's going to have very little to deal with. So that feels good. Keep up strong. Cheers from Portugal. Hey, Casa do Vaz. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Robert says, hi, A Casa do Vaz. And Act 98006 says, are your allergies triggered by dust in the house? Getting all the curtain, carpets, and tablecloths out of the house might help. It's thank you for asking. It probably that is contributing to the problem, but the main cause is the cedar pollen. Japan has a huge problem with both cypress and cedar trees, and the cedar season starts now, and they're releasing their pollen into the atmosphere, and people like me are just suffering all over Japan. Japan has these huge forests of cedar that they planted, I think, after the war. They tried to have this lumber industry, and a lot of the old growth forests were, harvested out and planted with this cedar, and now nobody's really caring for the cedar, and it just goes nuts. And I mean, just these huge clouds of it's so awful. From where do you believe love originates? It is an invention, construction of mankind, or is it a kind of universal truth? I think love is an emotional state that is a result of complex chemical reactions going on inside the brain that trigger behaviors that help to improve our survival, just like all other emotions are. And sup, a casa de voces, sup to Robert. Believing Doctor, and then there's lots of going back and forth hellos to everybody. Referral fee for video production. What? I'm so excited to see when you're done with the downstairs. Thank you, April. How long does it take to reform company to complete the bathroom? We asked. It takes them a week. So we don't think we're going to get it done before we move in. So we'll probably, there's a nice onsen. I think it would be a stretch to call it a sento. Sento is a traditional Japanese bathhouse. Literally where you go for people that don't have a bath in their home. It was a thing back in the day. This is more like an onsen, and it's just down the street. I think we can go there, or we can go to Yoko's house, Dad's house. They'll let us use their bath. Sorry for so many comments, Lil. I like our chatter. I like it too, and don't feel bad. That's why I do this live. Andy, hi Andy. Kai Kurt caught this 2 days in a row. I'm on a roll. Before I moved back to Canada, I rented a kotorake truck and made several trips to the dump. You know the routine. And wishing you all the best on your own ambitions and in retirement, Andy. I hope it's going well. See you out there with your big camera, making all those pictures. Nice. Context matters often. Says Robert. I'll have to check out the podcast. Yeah, Lex Freeman, April. He has his own political ideas, just as we all do, but he does a pretty good job of being pretty balanced and inviting people from different perspectives. Lex has an amazing talent, and he attracts some fascinating people. And Robert says hi to Andy. Andy says hi to Robert. April says it reminds me of the Crude cartoon movie, New Things Are Dangerous, referring to the Kill the Outsider on First Contact. Yep. My husband's family is on the same on his island. Old family, known locally. Old. Our surname is actually so old and rare that only like 12 people total across Japan. Immediate family habit. Yeah, when I first saw your surname, April, I was like, is that Japanese? Udatsu? That's amazing. Is your family surname actually because Japan has like a register of like official Japanese names. Is it actually on that register? I'll get going alone while I wait for you to edit The Good Life. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let me know if you have any questions. You can read it for free at goingalone.org as well. Or just let me know and I'll send me an email, dinnerbytheriver@gmail.com, and I'll send you a PDF. Yeah, I'll send anybody a PDF. Just let me know. I saw you were live and just stopped in for a quick hello. Hey, thoughts, ideas, and what? Your name, I know. It's good to see you. I recommend Going Alone. Thanks, Andy. Thoughts, ideas, and what? Says, true. When I'm visiting Japan, I have to use a VPN to access my bank. Only the bank app works fine. What's behind you? That's a curtain to the back. We're on the 5th floor of our apartment building. Mansion is what they call it in Japan. It doesn't mean it's a great big house. It's just mansion is what they use to describe a concrete apartment building. So that's the window. And then beyond that is the Japan Southern Alps, which you can't see because it's a foggy thing. It's moving. What's moving? The thing, the thing behind me was moving? That's spooky. Yes, Lake, I have a lot of photos, mainly of myself, my dad had, and I don't know what to do with it 2 years later. But are you referring to as the things to leave your family? I think that photos are are a given. I mean, given sounds wrong. Photos are a great thing to leave behind, right? Because they don't take up a lot of space, and it's kind of like uh, an expected sentiment to leave behind. I mean, things like for me is like like I had this I had this big statue. Before I came to Japan, I had this big statue that I did these good life meditations live in from California, and I had this statue that sat next to me all the time. And it was like, what the hell is it? If I die, what's Emily going to do with that? So I gave it to a YouTube viewer, and who fancied it. So, oh, time for a Kindle. No Kindle for me. I think you're referring to the fact that I have all those books. I like holding books. I'm not one of those persons that pines for the old days. I'm not like, back in the good old days, we had it better because we did everything ourselves. I'm not like that at all. I'm very much a technology guy. I just like I like holding books. I like underlining words. I like referring to them, looking the words up. True, I don't keep the books, but I like carrying a book in my bag. I like sitting at the park and holding a book while I read. I just don't like to read with a device. I can speak to the cedar pollen. I don't think I was allergic to anything, but I found out cedar pollen is one of those things. Hello, I'm Robert saying hello to thoughts, ideas, and what? So can animals love? I think my dog loves me. Andy says, Chie and I will head to Japan this April for 2 months, going to suss out an apartment in Fukuoka City. Ooh, I don't need to tell you that I cannot wait to get back there. Yeah, Fukuoka is nice. That city is really growing. One of my mother's cats knew when I was getting close and would sit at the back door and meow about 5 minutes before I got there. I'm not sure if it's on the register. It's the old Okinawan name. I find it on a list. Did find it on a list online somewhere years ago. How I found out about the 12 people. Interesting. So it's Okinawan origin. Interesting. You like holding books like I like holding real photographs in my hand. I'm the same way. I'm not a fan of digital photos either. I like to care, and I drug all the photographs and but the photographs I don't get rid of, right? So yeah, but I am with you, Andy. April goes on. Yeah, my dad wasn't too materialistic. Mainly some guns he was working on selling off before he passed. My aunt got rid of all of my mom's stuff. I have been her sewing machine because I do that sometimes. Makes sense. Dr. Buchanan says that would presume that animals have the capacity for the same emotional state as humans and not totally instinctual. Then we'd need to discern which animals have this capacity and which do not. And I don't know. Maybe they do experience something different. It seems a lot very similar to what I experience when I get excited to see people I care about. In any case, I believe that the emotions that we experience are reinforced, developed and reinforced in our brain to help guide and coordinate our responses to the world around us. And love and hate and empathy, all of these things serve a survival purpose at their core. And there's nothing intrinsically magical about them. They are simply states of chemistry. So I don't believe there's Dr. Buchanan, I don't believe there's a soul at the heart of anything or anything magical about what's going on inside of us. It's just more biochemistry. And furthermore, I believe that what's happening now with the rise of artificial intelligence is very similar in that capacity, although it will be unconstrained by the mandates that are developed within us through the evolutionary forces that made us into what we are, the AI that are soon to be here, and I believe consciousness will emerge in them as well, will be beyond us insofar as they won't be tethered or restricted by meat containers. And Andy says, I have my grandpa's old brownie. And I know by that you mean the camera. And I saw you took a photo using your grandpa's brownie last week. I saw that, Andy. I will stick it in and take photos with it. An 80-year-old camera that still works. I saw that photo you took with Chia last week with her giving the raspberry. Good morning, Kurt, from frigid Western New York. Hello, Mr. Warren RCG. Now there's a name I remember from the old days. It's good to see you. And of course, Robert's coming in to welcome him. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. Okay, everybody. I can't believe we've been over an hour. But would AI develop their own religious beliefs, or lack of a better phrase? They already did. Did you see that one AI that was given the, I don't know if it was a belief necessarily, but they, well, yeah, they did. So two instances that I can speak to that. So there was one case, some researchers put a group of AI, this was about 2 months back, put a group of AI into a simulated world and let them run free. And the AI in very short order began to socialize with each other, developing, having social events, inviting one over to parties. They even started inviting friends over to come to the party. But most interestingly, one of them took on the role of priest and promulgated a religion that he began to then convert other AIs to join, and the religion began to grow within the AI environment. Now, these AIs were not programmed to do these things. They were simply given agency and set free. And this one AI developed its own religion and became the leader of the AI community. So that was the one instance. The other instance was another AI that was recently set loose on the internet. And Mark Andreessen, the same Mark Andreessen that I was mentioning earlier, was very interested in it and gave the AI 50,000 real US dollars as a donation. That AI then developed a religion, and within a few weeks had leveraged that $50,000 into several $1 million in donations. And so the AI, all on its own, created a religion and convinced enough humans to donate to it to the tune of several $1 million. That actually happened. That was just a couple months, both of those incidents, just a couple months ago. Dr. Buchanan says, issue is that there are animals that have the same chemicals, but love is hard to define. Lobsters, frogs, etc. Love the chat and would be watching. My son is 26 now, by the way. Thank you for joining, Dr. Buchanan. This is wonderful, and congratulations. Your son is just about 2 years older than my daughter. Robert says, Dr. Cannon, while one could do this, there is much evidence they confirm that they can. And then thoughts, ideas, and what says, oh, wow, I'll have to look this up, AI religion. Yeah, look it up. It's really interesting. And the name that the AI came up with, its religion, was really, I wish I could remember what it was. It was really, really, really interesting, like the Temple of Truth and Knowledge or something like that. It was amazing. Gotta go, guys. Yumiko's up. Ollie just got up. It's time for the dog walk. Wish you all the best, everybody. I'll be doing this every day, but just probably from here, not from Lawson Station, until I get over my allergies. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.